Okay, so I think it's a good time to start now. Mm, So, thank you. First of all, thank you, Dr. Shailesh, for accepting our invite for your talk. And let me introduce you. A very good evening to one and all in those who are in India, and good morning to Dr. Shailesh. I'm Suresh and I'll be the co-host for the session on behalf of Bose.X. Before the session commences, let me introduce once again our speaker, Dr. Shailesh Upreti. Dr. Shailesh, a graduate from IIT Delhi, a very dynamic and inspiring personality. Shailesh has been involved in building and commercialization of innovative and breakthrough technologies. He has more than 100 articles published in reputed journals and several international patents. He has been working in collaboration with various labs in the US in the energy sector and particularly lithium ion technologies. Currently, he serves as the chairman at Imperium 3 Inclusive, which is involved in building next generation of smart factories for the cobalt-free lithium-ion batteries. Apart from this, Shailesh has been also involved in philanthropic work. A few words about Bose.X. It is an independent research organization founded by Ankul Prajapati based at SVNIT Surat, wherein our aim is to promote undergraduate research in leading areas of research like astrophysics, renewable energy, quantum research, and engineering sciences. I'd like to hand over the session to Dr. Shailesh, and I am sure you will all enjoy. Dr. Shailesh, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Suyash. Hi, everyone. Good morning and good evening to you. Let me probably also turn on my video. I hope we are able to see me. So nice to meet you all. Thanks for having me today. Today, it's actually um, very interesting that with so much happening around the globe, I'm hoping that everyone is keeping safe and that's that said, let's start our session. So my today's topic going to be probably very different from what you must have been hearing from other speakers in past. I'm primarily going to share my own experiences and the entrepreneurship journey and how possibly among yourself we would be able to kind of create a uh, bilateral discussion here. I would say I would not give a long talk. I'll probably be very short in 10 minutes, run through a few slides that I have prepared for you, which primarily will give my background, as I said, and some of the experiences that I would like to share with you, and then open the platform for more from a question answer perspective where we could, exchange some ideas. So with that in mind, if you allow me, I would like to, go through a few slides quickly first. So, I, as you mentioned, my background has been mostly in science and technology, but better part of my career, last 12 plus years, I've been an entrepreneur. And today's key focus going to be around that. How to, as you can probably read from my slide here, synchronize the best of yourself and one step at a time. What that means is primarily, understanding what you want to do and achieve in a life. That's very, very important, right? It's a long-term goal, and you always take a baby step towards that long goal. So that one step that you are taking today, whether your goal is to, graduate from the school, your institute, or your goal is to help someone in achieving that goal. It could be a friend, could be a family member, or your goal is to get into an area that could be completely different, and that goal always starts with small steps that you have to take, and that's what we'll talk about it in detail. But let me quickly introduce my background first, where I come from, and what I'm doing today. So my whole, I would say, last 20 plus years of career has been uh, primarily, first part, I would say, working with the inventor of lithium-ion batteries, who also won the Nobel Prize last year. So before that, I was in IIT Delhi, and before that, I was in a place called Uttarakhand, which is the northern state in India. And my place is a very small town in district Almora. It's a hilly, mountain area, and you can probably see. I've given a quick snapshot of my village here, where our primary school is still uh, 3 to 4 kilometers from all the residential area, and every student has to pretty much travel 6 to 7 kilometers every day. But that's a very typical, I would say, every possible village, probably, in India today, if you look at based on, obviously geography, but that's very common, right? um, all I'm trying to say is, you know doesn't really matter which place you come from, for especially for entrepreneurship. If you got that fire in you, that's going to drive your growth. And we'll again, touch upon some of the topics, in addition to that fire, what you may have to do and how you may have to think out of the box, and you may already know it, so it could be redundant here. However, starting from there, I have been in, primarily in energy space. Mostly, I would call it energy storage. So when you need to store energy, and you have to then, use it as you want, and that is my area of focus. Mostly, initial days, from the research background, then last 12 plus years on the commercial side. So whatever you do and study, let's say in labs and books, how you apply that in your career, and then how you make a business out of it, is I'm going to talk about. So my area focus in last 12 years have been bringing new products to market, and I kind of look into international as a whole. That with the globalization, I would say, you could pretty much, of course, you always have to look into the local market first, but the way the industry is set up today, I would say there is huge potential for product to go international. It may not necessarily mean it will be applicable to every possible market, but it could have much more beyond, like your local market possibility. Also talk about a little bit on how to build sustainable businesses, what could be the go to market strategy, etc. But this will be very brief. I'm not going to give you a business school lecture here on go to market strategy. Just my personal experiences, and some few things about the patents and the team building, why they are important as you grow and build your career. But my expertise, as I said, energy storage. But the area that I come from, it's nowadays called material science and engineering. So I don't know how many of you are already aware about this specific area. It is, a combination of all different subjects, where a multidisciplinary team or a multidisciplinary knowledge could be accumulated to solve a problem. Now, the problem could be a research problem, it could be a business problem. Eventually, as you apply, so that's where I'm kind of going from here. When you combine these different topics, you can see like physics, chemistry, mechanical, power electronics, computer science, electronics communication, industrial, even geography is a part of it, where some of the naturally occurring minerals or products can be converted into a useful product. So there, when you are obviously, I'm sure all of you
Okay, Dosh.
using
Okay, Dosh. Uh-huh.
Um, Sorry, I think there is some background. Um, so anyway, the material science and engineering is a broader topic, but the key message from this slide is no one can really solve a problem alone. You always have to have, these multiple areas of expertise combined together to solve a problem, whether it's a scientific or the business. Second, material science today, if you look at, has a wide range of applications from, you can see, food and agriculture to education to environment, energy, and space research, healthcare. And what that means is if you are, let's say, one of those engineering students who want to diversify and wants to get into different areas in terms of building your career, I think there are huge potential. Now, of course, I have put only limited examples here, but areas could be unlimited. This broadly covers, some key areas that we are familiar with. There are niche markets, niche segments, niche, research areas. And my particular focus is in energy storage. So among all those different areas, my key interest is in energy and how you can store it safely. Now, energy storage, I'm sure you all probably are aware of because you have been using this particular technology for long enough. When it comes to using your mobile phone or laptop, and you charge it and then you carry it with you and then use it whenever, wherever you want. So energy storage gives you a lot of flexibility in your day-to-day life. That's one thing where you can pretty much put energy in your pocket and use it. Now this is obviously now diversifying, becoming much bigger than what we anticipated 20, 30 years back. Only cell phone or mobile phone. You could even drive electric car, or you could even store sun energy or wind energy and use it in your grid and household applications. So with that in mind, my key indication from this particular slide is you could choose a topic, or your whether you want to study higher in your next phase of growth, or masters or PhD or whatsoever, or you may want to build your career. uh, my suggestion would be there's huge need for technologies businesses to not only make money but bring environmental impact. As we go from one generation to the next, our responsibility is to keep mother nature as clean and as green as possible, and leave greener footprint for our next generations. So, of course, not everyone can do it, but the maximum possible, I would say that will be a good change and good attitude in your um, goals and visions to have. Uh, in batteries, again, this is the only slide that I have put that I would call technical, just to give you, how I started and which part of lithium-ion battery or energy storage, my background is, and then we'll correlate it with how you eventually, whichever area you go into, could apply the same philosophy. Not that that's the key to any success, but I'm sure you will enjoy it because you would be able to correlate. So in batteries, I'm pretty confident most of you know that there are four key components, cathode, anode, separator, electrolyte. And these four components control the cost and performance of a battery. Now, why this is relevant? As you may probably be seeing and hearing, electric cars and electric buses, trucks are getting mainstream and getting popular. And if you're buying an electric car, almost 40 to 50% of the cost of the car is the battery alone. So it's primarily batteries on the wheel. And if you have good control over these four components from a technology perspective, science, intellectual property, you may be able to control the cost of the car, or solar wind energy that you have to use in your household. So it has direct implication in your day-to-day activity. Doesn't matter if you want to build a career in batteries or in electric car or in renewable, you would have to face these one way or the other, and you're already using these components in your device today. So a little bit understanding of this, I thought it would be good to put in here. Um, and then we'll jump into how you, as you know, right now, because you are going through your educational program, some of you must also be doing experiments in labs. It could be small experiments, or it could be some part of some bigger research. But there has always been a kind of a coexistence between academia and industry, I call it. And you guys, the young minds who not only, I would say, you're building your career, you're building nation, you're building whole industry eventually. Some of will you would be transforming certain part of the industry tomorrow. So that coexistence has always been there. And what drives that? There, I have few important points that I have mentioned. As you can see, the connection between the educational institute, the businesses, which is primarily industry, and some of you would be getting into technical development of this industry. Some of would you be managing as a manager of these businesses or industry, irrespective of what your role going to be tomorrow. I think there are few key parameters you would see that is common among the people who succeed and move fast and grow faster. And the first and foremost thing is the confidence. I see many time, despite knowing that you can really solve that problem, you know how to do it, but just the internal, your self consciousness, call it, sometime hesitation, you call it, it doesn't open up, it doesn't let you motivate to do it, and that lags in some of us. And some of us really overcome that issue very smartly. And I say it because they may not know how to solve the problem, but the level of confidence they show, they make it happen. That's one thing, I've observed. The second point you may see there is the creativity. There are always multiple ways to solve a problem. That problem, again, could be technical engineering problem, or it could be business problem, or day-to-day problem in our life. You may have realized that the moment you make your brain creative, you come up with multiple solutions. If you don't bring that creativity, you are stuck in a problem. You keep you confine yourself in a net, and you cannot come out of it. So creativity is very, very important. You don't need to go to a school, you don't need to actually do PhD to become a creative person. So all the topics I have written here, you don't really need to study that in classroom. I think you have to develop these things by yourself. And the third key point here is the team player. I see that I'm sure you guys make groups in your labs and in your assignments, 3, 4 people working together. So you understand the importance of the teamwork. Already you would be having first-hand experience. But when it comes to building your career, as you graduate and get into whether in a higher education program or you want to go for a job, you will realize that this becomes a very, very important point for your growth. You would also realize this becomes actually more important if you want to be an entrepreneur yourself. If you want to become, uh, instead of job seeker, a job provider, you would have to create and build your own team. We all know that individually we cannot have all the attributes or all the features that will make you succeed. And that's where you have to be a little smart and figure out what your weaknesses are, where you cannot really do good, and bring those capabilities in your team. That's when you're an entrepreneur. When you're working for a company, I'm sure you would be joining a specific division, and you would have to work with, if you are an engineering person, you will have to work with the manufacturing guys, or human resource, or accounting, or business folks to run and your project first, and then eventually run the company. Then in order for you to do all that, and particularly, now we'll move into the entrepreneurship part of it, your journey, and many of you would be picking that pathway as your next destination, I believe, at some point. And the good news is, entrepreneurship doesn't have any, I mean, it is a boundary free term. You don't have to have a graduate for that. You don't have to have a 25-year-old. You could be an entrepreneur at 70, or you could be at 16. I've seen many who have become very successful entrepreneur when they started in their teen age. So for that, having a passion is the key. And the reason I put it at the center of all the key points here is it indeed is the central, point of your attributes. The moment you create, passionation for something, and you really feel like that's what you really want to do, I'm sure you will be able to come up with the rest of the things needed. And that's very, very important. You have to also be a problem solver, and you always need to be calm when you are solving, issues. I see many time we panic, we uh, we are not comfortable going out of our sweet spot, and become very uh, I would say aggressive in certain points of decision making process, and that's not good. So eventually, between your studies and your school now and when you will be building your career, or all I'm saying is these some important points that I'm sure will help you in your growth journey. So let me briefly talk about the you know the same relationship between industry and academia, how there is a cycle of innovation, how the knowledge and business coexist and help each other. So again, this pyramid chart I have put in here, we don't have to go in detail, but from the bottom part, what I'm saying is a knowledge base. That knowledge base again can come from many different aspect of life: school, day-to-day activity, friend circle, family. When you have a strong knowledge, again, I'm saying strong science here because that's what my background, but it doesn't have to be science. As you start your entrepreneurship journey primarily, where you want to bring a new product and build a sustainable business, you would be going through an IP development phase, which we call intellectual property. You would be building a product. Eventually, you will be taking that product to market, and build a business around it. But there are two key aspects of that cycle. One is the knowledge base that will help you create your business, create your product, and solve day-to-day activity. The second is the financial part of it. When you are building a business, I think the goal is to build it sustainably and having some form of monetary cycle in there, because we all agree that in order for you to build a sustainable business team, there has to be financial, I would say, sustainability in the company or in the plan. And that particular aspect is very, very important to correlate with the knowledge base, and they basically how would help you, these two things, to migrate from academia to industry, and will eventually also become one of the parameter in terms of how you want to take it to the next level. But let's talk about the entrepreneurship itself, what it is, what do we call, who we call entrepreneur. So in my simple definition, entrepreneurship is all about building your own business. I see that many time we struggle and we say, oh, I'm going to be graduating next year and I have to start looking for a job. And that I'm sure that exists, and it is fine. I'm not here to criticize that attitude, but I'm sure many of you must also be thinking and believing in building your own business. And that's kind of what I feel is one of the areas that we need to bring more people in. It's something that uh, I'm sure there'll be a lot of challenges, but that's what is entrepreneurship about: how to solve those challenges smartly. But the moment you start thinking about how I can create my own business and create job for other rather than looking for one, that is a little bit of twist in your career. And I think the moment you become passionate about that particular vision and goal, I see that's the beginning of the entrepreneurship journey. So it has to start from that thought process, which is I'm not going to look for a job, but I'm going to provide jobs to other. And in order to do that, two key parameters, again, I have mentioned, which I mentioned briefly in my previous slides as well. So passion and perseverance are the two key important part. You will have ups and downs. You will have a lot of challenges. You may not even have idea what we will do, what company you will, what type of business you will build. But if you have these two things, you will one way or the other succeed in achieving those things. You'll be able to figure out, what type of company you want to build, which technology you want to adopt, what what kind of team you want to build. All that will happen if you have these two things with you. Also, I call this, no business is small business. In fact, we should always start with small, always take a baby step, always solve someone's problem. The problem is small, doesn't matter, because the smaller the problem, the bigger the chances of you succeeding, in fact. Because every time people want to solve something big, and it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort. It could be 10 years before you really realize it was too big. Whereas in small, if you have taken a smaller problem, and just keep in mind that someone must be willing to pay you for that small problem. The payment doesn't really matter, the size, the magnitude doesn't really matter, the intensity of that payment doesn't matter. But if someone is willing to pay that, when you accumulate those small problems together, and or the size of that small payment together, and apply that to billions of people or billions of industries, you will see that it suddenly has become a much bigger business. So in addition to having the passion and perseverance, you have to have an eye to find out what problem you're going to solve, and always pick the smallest one. Always do take a little step at a time and try to solve that. And last but not the least one is no easy give up. What that means is, once you have decided that you will do it, there's no looking back. And as I said, with certain capabilities, especially if you are smart enough to build the right team, you will have someone on your side of the table to solve that problem. And as long as you're not giving up easily, you'll find that you're taking your first baby step, and you will always be ready for the second one and third one, and eventually you'll be running. But if you give up early on, that probably is not a good attitude to have, and would eventually become a habit, and you would realize that soon. This brings certain internal complications and frustrations. And not giving up also brings frustration, but as I said, that's where the creativity needed, problem solver needed on your side, so that it can be done, and you could jump over the hump sooner. So in summary, as you may have like felt, I wasn't really giving a technical talk here. My goal was to share some of the thought processes, some of my own experiences, how you know um, you could eventually, as you graduate, as you go from this institute to the next phase of your life, apply your knowledge and could think out of the box. And I'm sure the knowledge and the communication that you have gained, and as you are in school, it's very very important to understand different aspect of fundamental of science and technology. So that will help you, because in early phase of your growth, knowledge is going to be very, very important to differentiate yourself from many other. And then communication of that knowledge to others is equally important. So these two part you really need to have good grip over. The second, I think, aspect I was trying to convey, this area of material science and technology, where multiple different subjects, expert and knowledge base work together to solve problem. It could be again mostly it's a scientific problem first, later at the business, and combining that knowledge that you have gained now and you'll be gaining now with your entrepreneurship skill set and the passion could be very, very interesting. And that it could become an interesting factor, especially because when you graduate, you might be actually creating jobs for other rather than looking for one. So with that, I would like to put a full stop, and I'm sure many of you going to change the future of, not only yours, but for the community, for the industry, wherever you would be working in. And I'm hoping that there will be many successful entrepreneur among yourself here. And it was a privilege to have this presentation before you. And I would like to, as I shared earlier, sorry, I was a bit slow. I was hoping that I'll finish pretty fast, but maybe my morning time making me slow here. But I would like to open the platform and have a very, I would say, friendly bilateral conversation here or group discussions here, and see if there are questions in your mind and about entrepreneurship primarily, product development, company establishment, etc. I would like to hear those questions and see if I can answer them to your satisfaction. So with that, definitely want to thank you all for your time and for having me here. So platform probably is open for
Yeah.
the discussion now.
Yeah, I would like to thank you for a very amazing talk, and the platform is open for questions. Before that, I would like to explain a small thing to you, Dr. Shailesh. The Bose.X organization that we are a part of, it has a short abbreviation, that TRIAC, TRIAC, that stands for Training for Research, Innovation and Commercialization. So our basic aim for starting this organization was to get an intersection of interdisciplinary research, where research and innovation could be such that it could lead to commercialization, and it should stand for both, for research as well and commercialization as well. I think that is what India needs the most right now. Yeah, and the floor is open for questions. Somebody.
Yeah, I see one question already. How would you deal with the more limited resources or facilities compared to what you anticipate for the project? So, very good question, and that's, I think, goes back to, I think, Shreyash, as you mentioned, we need more of that activity in India. And one of the first and foremost thing that comes down to is, do we have enough resources in hand? Can we really do it? Um, and that I would say it could be applicable in many projects and product development and company development, but it wouldn't be a generic statement and it wouldn't hold true for every problem. So what that means is, you know, always you may have heard stories of successful entrepreneurs. They started from a one bedroom and now they are employing 10,000, 100,000 employees, and that is good example to take. And Facebook, Amazon, there are some big names there that started with very limited resources, single computer, one bedroom, and now they are global brands. So while I understand that there will be challenges, particularly when it comes down to science and technology, solving a scientific problem, you need to have labs, you need to have infrastructure to solve whatever science issue you are solving. and you need to have machinery and tools to analyze what you solve and figure out whether it works or not. You still need a lab or build a prototype and do demonstration. Understand that. But remember, as I said earlier, the problem has to be small enough that you bring impact. You don't have to build a big robot in your lab to really solve a robotic problem. It could be a small sensor that goes into the robot that you have come up with an idea that you're able to demonstrate on a small scale. Again, the resources also are applicable to taking technology from lab to commercialization, because building one small prototype may only require, let's say, 10,000 rupees, but now building that product for the industry could require 10,000 crore. So where that money will come from? And that's where the entrepreneurship comes. You when you have decided that this can be done, I know that you will be able to figure out how to do it. There's no magic formula. I can make a drink and have you take it and say, once you have that drink, you are now entrepreneur and you can solve everything. That's where entrepreneurs are different from others, and there is no education for that. Irrespective, I just shared my thoughts. There's no one who can teach you how to become an entrepreneur, and there is no magic formula. The beauty of that is, doesn't matter whether you're coming from, whether you are the best in your class or the worst in your class, doesn't matter. It also doesn't matter whether you are 16-year-old or 60-year-old, as I said. So finding that small issue and getting across the hump, where the hump could be the challenge of infrastructure, hump could be having no money in the pocket in the bank, but still able to do it and deliver it, is called entrepreneurship. So hope that gives you some visibility. But what I can tell you for sure is, some of the features I mentioned in one of the slides, that's very common in every entrepreneur. The passionation, the passion to do it. I will be able to do it, and I will do it irrespective, whatever comes my way, is common among all the entrepreneurs. They don't give up easily. Oh, this, I couldn't do it today, let's start something different tomorrow, is not the attitude of entrepreneurs. They know that if I'm not able to solve it today night, they will be able to come up with a solution. Doesn't mean you have to solve it yourself. You will find a way to get it solved. It may be a friend who you will take help from. It could be a partner, or it could be an idea from internet. Doesn't matter, but you will be able to come up with a mechanism. So next day you will be making a little more progress, and you will not be frustrated, and you'll not be tired. And that's the entrepreneurship. So hope that answered that question, Aditya, you were asking.
We have one more question. What advice would you give to a junior researcher about supervising master or senior students?
Yeah, so I think as we all learn, and as we all, I'm sure, senior junior is a relative term. I know many time students now, especially with the internet on your mobile device, makes you very rich in terms of your knowledge base. You could in seconds look for a problem on internet and also find solutions. So whoever is doing that, trying to find solution, is in my understanding, is kind of a senior in the knowledge term. But that said, I understand your question in terms of how, let's say, if you are a master student and someone is first year undergrad, how you can supervise, um, um, and how you can help, right? That my suggestion is, um, there is always, the first thing you can teach and you can advise about is the team building, the cohesive approach to solve problem. I think that sometime I see missing. People try to, first of all, they'll say, oh, I know it and I can solve it, despite knowing that it could take 10 days. That's a very good attitude, that you are willing to help. But then coming up with a solution, if you took help from someone and if you had an idea how you were able to solve it, and sharing that experience is more important than sharing just the answer. So if you tell them, look, I wasn't aware of the answer, but I did this, and this is the way I thought it will be done, and it's done now. So basically, all I'm saying is sharing a process rather than the outcome is if that becomes an attitude, that will be a very good knowledge transfer process from you to your junior. So, well, junior, as I said again, I'm not a big fan of that concept of junior senior, but I think I got the context, but sharing the process, I'm saying, is more important than sharing the outcome. Hope that helps.
There are some more questions we took via the Google form. I would
So
like to.
yes, before heading towards, let me ask one more question. And first of all, thank you, Dr. Salis. Like, I have one question. Like, I assume C4V is manufacturing a different kind of lithium-ion batteries. So, can you please let us know about the what are the different aspect, like different technology you are using in your company, rather compared to other conventional lithium-ion batteries? So, just in brief.
Yeah. So sure, I'm happy to share that. So C4B is a lithium and battery technology company. So what that mean is we are not really looking into mass producing a battery that is not an innovation. So we always, our core philosophy is, unless until there is a tech and there is an innovation, we will not take it forward. So it has to be different. It has to be more beneficial, whether in terms of cost and performance. So right now we have three generations of products, three different products. And the first generation product is a chemistry that is independent of cobalt and nickel. So if you are using cell phone, the battery, inside that cell phone battery, there is a lot of cobalt and nickel used. The problem with the cobalt is 60% of that is coming from, Africa, a country called Congo, DRC. And there are issues there, even child labor is involved. There's a lot of unethical practices in mining, and also which makes it also very expensive. So the batteries, if you want that cell phone battery to eventually also drive your electric car, it's going to be a very painful process. Having those kits in the mining to mine that cobalt is not the right way. So we have come up with a alternate mechanism and the elements that we use. So we mostly use, for example, manganese, which is well known in steel industry and plenty available in many countries. And we achieved the similar level, in fact some better performances than the cobalt and nickel based chemistry. So that's our one key innovation. Then there are a couple of other aspects to it. Safety um, is very very good for our battery, that it doesn't catch fire easily, and also cycle life. We see that our batteries could last almost 20 years. So that will give solar and battery partnership, a very seamless home storage or grid storage capabilities. So that's in brief. I mean, we can continue talking about it, but there, in short, hopefully gives you some visibility what our technology is about.
Great. Thank you. And one more about the company. Like I can see it was founded in 2017. So if you don't mind, can you say like the team strength right now, number of team members? Like I've been trying to figure out some aspect. Like we are now in Bose.X. Even we are now around 20 to 25 active members. And initially there was 50 members, and it was dropped significantly. So how team building, or how we can sustain the long term team when we are building or when we are working on some challenging projects?
Yeah, so I think there are two. I would say when you have team, I would say the size of the team is not important. In fact, if you look at the battery innovation last 5 years, just I'll give you battery because that's what I'm very close to. Company like Samsung spends $300 million every year in R&D. They have 400 scientists working on problems, and I see hardly any outcome, at least on the battery side, from that facility. There are many breakthrough technologies that has come out and have done very well from small labs where you had only 5 people working and solving the problem versus 400 and 300 million dollar investment. So money and big size team doesn't really get you the full solution. It's very important to have more number of people at some point in your growth journey, because you will be doing a lot of different things than just solving the research problem. But the attitude that more people will be good and a lot of money would be good and get you the solution is not the right attitude, is all I'm saying. So as you mentioned, the filtering happens. It's a natural process. Nature has everything, all the solutions. When something doesn't work, the filtration happen by default. The filtration means doesn't really means physical filtration, means I'm saying the solution comes out. So if you have more number of people, you will realize that soon it has become chaotic, and some will start feeling bored, so they leave, and some will be bothering, they'll be kicked out by someone saying, you are not, you don't deserve here. So that process is a natural process. It is applicable to everything. So naturally we and humans are same wherever you go. So that's same phenomena whether you are in India, US, or Europe, doesn't matter. So having the right type of team, right size, is very very important. And the size, to me, if you are solving a technical problem, it doesn't have to be more than 5 to 10 people, honestly speaking. Technical problem, the more the people, it becomes more problematic, because everyone has a different technical skill set. And then soon either it becomes a contradiction, or becomes an issue of solving something which is very different from your core issue. Technically, people get diverted because there are 10 minds and they are thinking in all possible direction, and soon it becomes a complicated process. So you need, when you're solving that, you need really confined minds concentrating on one problem and then figuring out how to do it. So you will only able to do it when you have limited number of people and good control over their thinking, right? So a team lead who is making them focus, and because problem, you won't solve it in one day. You'll have many sub problems part of the big problem, and those sub problem, there has to be someone in the team who understand how to solve one brick, other brick, other brick, so you can put the whole wall together. And that requires very limited number of people. So in team, I would say, when if you're looking at techno commercial aspect, the techno commercial itself talk about what the team should be. So there has to be a dedicated team on the technical side, and there has to be a dedicated team on the commercial side. The technical team and commercial team need to communicate more often, which doesn't happen in many big organizations. That's why they say that large companies fail very fast, because there's no communication. And that's why they acquire new startups, they bring new technologies, because the communication between tech and commercial is very very important. So you don't want to solve a problem which has no market. At the same time, you don't want to take some product to market that you can't really build, right? So that communication is very important. And within commercial team, then you have to have someone who understands marketing, someone who understands how to sell, someone who can manage as a human resource. So overall, for a startup, 10 to 20 people is, I think, more than sufficient to solve a problem, then eventually bring to a stage where you are actually even generating some revenues, and you have enough blend of people that you can scale now company from that. Hope that answer your question.
Thank you. Makes sense.
There is another question I read. What is the best field according to you, an investor or an entrepreneur? I mean, to me, it's always entrepreneur. Even the investors who are not entrepreneurial, they fail. There are many people who lose money, and unless I've seen many investors who have remained entrepreneur are very successful investors. So short answer is entrepreneurship is the way to go. Even you have to be entrepreneurial when you are investor.
Yeah. So we have some more questions. If somebody wants to ask, can unmute and ask, or else there are a set of questions received via the Google form. We can ask that. Okay, so one of the questions was, what has been the impact of your work and research in the energy sector globally and for India too? Like, how has it affected the energy sector globally and in India?
Yeah, so I think we basically are still a growth mode company. We are right now, as we speak, building two factories in our US factory. The size of the factory is it's second largest after Tesla in the US. In Australia, we're building the first and the only factory that will be producing batteries in Australia. So that's the global footprint. I wouldn't say we are globally everywhere, but US and Australian market, we are, very, very advanced stage. India is definitely, for multiple reasons, being Indian and, has my own goal to do something back home. So I've been spending last 3-4 years, I've been spending time with all the end users, car manufacturer, bus, truck, even solar companies, wind companies. So we have few customers already in Indian market who will be using our technology. We have some contracts with them and some already using on small scale. And we are also looking at setting up a factory in India in coming, we have been in discussions with the government and very advanced stages. So our goal is to build something in next 2 to 3 year time frame, have an operating factory in India, which means we are right now very active. We have few people already, 4 people on ground working, not a lot of people, but that just to do the initial, exploration, market research, talk to customers, and also start putting a team together for the Indian project. So the goal is to build capabilities within India for Indian market, and eventually even supply globally from India is the goal. And we think we have all the right resources, whether it's the knowledge base or the raw material and the infrastructure you need. So hopefully that would be an exciting journey for us in India, but that's what we are doing today.
Yeah. One more question was, how did the transition between uh, technical side and entrepreneurship take place? Like, what was your motivation to go for? I hope this answer is very much clear right now, but still, if you want to add something.
Yeah, I just said, there's no magical drink that you will drink and say I'm an entrepreneur. So that it is always you, starts with you. And I think for me also, when I was working, I worked in academia, then moved to industry. I wasn't really having fun. I wasn't really enjoying, despite all the good position, role in the company, the salary that I wanted, more than that it was, but I wasn't feeling happy. And that's what happens, when you are entrepreneur, you want to do something. The money or the level of work satisfaction probably wouldn't satisfy you. You probably want to go beyond that. And that's how my journey started. It always starts difficult, but becomes exciting as you solve the problems along the way.
Okay. And would you like to describe something about your $500,000 prize?
Yeah, so I mean that there was a business competition, and we, as you always do, give your best to whatever you get into. So there was a business competition. I think there were 80 companies who came into that, and so we did our best and we won the award. It was good experience. It was a few month process. So it was one of the largest clean tech business competition, and I would say we did good.
Yeah. So there's a question by Mitesh Gandhi. What do you think will be the upcoming major market? What he means is, like, many people become billionaires, millionaires due to dot-com boom, and it revolutionized many other aspects. What would be the upcoming such industry according to you?
Good question. I think, according to me, of course, IT or .com is a very broad now, right? Within .com, you have data science, you have artificial intelligence, you have e-commerce, you have fintech. There are many, but I think to me that will still remain. The software will still remain one of the big winner going forward. whether it's autonomous cars, you talk about whether automating your day-to-day activities, going from home to office, solving office problem. So automation will be one key area that I would say there'll be a lot of advancement. But what would be breakthrough, I think, in the industry, and that breakthrough happens only once in a century, like .com, would be electrification of transportation. I personally feel as the diesel petrol depleting, and that has ruled the industry for 100 plus years, we are at the verge of that transformation where the diesel petrol in next 15-20 years will become a minority component, and something else will take over. Most likely it's lithium ion batteries, that as we see, but it could be even hydrogen which will take over beyond that. But that transportation of sorry transformation of the way we travel going to be next big industry. And energy part of that, and energy as a general, because you will also be using energy in your homes, and that need is increasing. We need more air conditioning in summer, and heating in winters. Every day we have been like in this pandemic, we have been using laptop computer, we are charging it, so the energy need of each household is increasing. So the energy will become a next big thing in general, which will eventually also be participating in electric transportation and also the grid energy. But my feeling is any disruption, any technology coming into that area will be next big after .com now.
So the next question is, who are the major players in the sector, and where does Indian policies stand and support this research, and what can be done to uplift India's position here?
Yeah, so a very good question actually, and I think we need to do more. Right now, the global leaders are six companies. Samsung and LG from Korea, BYD and CATL from China, and Panasonic from Japan, and SK Innovation, which is also Korean. So there are six companies who control almost 98-99% of the market today. Like Tesla is also primarily Panasonic in the US. So that said, India, unfortunately, we have zero factory that is today producing any lithium-ion batteries. We're mostly importing lithium-ion batteries from outside. And part of that has, I mean, there are many reasons for it, but I think now government is putting more focus, and the R&D ecosystem is also becoming more active. And I would say always, in long-term success of any industry is bottom up, and bottom up is the basic education and R&D infrastructure. The more in our schools and colleges we learn about this industry and teach, the stronger it is going to be. So that's where the policy structuring, government initiatives should happen. You know, learn more about how energy storage could be part of our education programs, and then eventually R&D, setting up advanced R&D centers. But before that, probably manufacturing, because if we don't do start manufacturing sooner, we'll miss the global bus of this transformation. And the government has recently announced 50 gigawatt hour plan, which if we are able to implement, I think will be a good thing, which eventually if people get job there, there'll be more schools coming up with the programs around that. And I think that will also, that will be top down approach, but bottom up is always good for next 20, 30, 50-year progress.
Yeah, we are almost done with all the questions. Still, if somebody wants to ask, can ask. A last question for you, like a message you would like to pass on to aspiring researchers and entrepreneurs in general also, and in this particular field also.
Yeah, I mean, particular field as well as in general, I think it's the same answer. My only advice is, I think we all need to think and at least try to become an entrepreneur. I know there is always a small entrepreneur in us. It's just the condition. Sometimes it's either our personal issues, sometimes family challenges, sometimes our own hesitation that doesn't let that entrepreneur come out and grow. So my advice is, think about, just your body and mind best than anyone else. So don't depend on an advisor or someone to really give you a magical tip that someday you will be doing something. I think you yourself know what your capability is, and many times I see that that you can do it and you don't do it for some hesitation. So just throw away that all the hesitations you have in your life. Just become open. Whether it's in the classroom, you want to ask questions, just many times I see people feel like, oh, this is a small question, my friend will think, oh, I don't know this much, so let's go quiet. Don't think that. Just, if you don't know, just ask. No one is full of knowledge here. We all learn, we take the knowledge from others, and that's from day one. We are not computer, we are human, and we develop our knowledge from gaining it. So just leave that hesitation part away. Also, I sometimes feel people get hesitant because they don't know how to communicate. Communication has nothing to do with language. Sometimes we see Hindi or Tamil or this, I know I can do it and I express very well in Hindi, but I can't do it in English, and that becomes my weakness. So don't let the language become your weakness ever. See all the big entrepreneurs that you have seen, they were very good in their mother tongue, and that's made them succeed. So whatever your mother tongue, just use it in your advantage, not make it your weakness. And always bring that, I would say only one advice: look for that entrepreneur in yourself, and you have it in you, one of that such. Find it, refine it, and I'm sure you will do very well.
There is a question by Jatin who is asking for how should he start his entrepreneurial journey. He is
Yeah.
in chemical engineering department.
Yeah, so if you are a chemical engineer, I know you know probably best what problems exist in chemical engineering in throughout, or at least in limited area that you have knowledge. How you can start is, just find that smallest problem you think that no one has solved. Think about a smallest possible one. Don't think about building a big factory and something with the chemical engineering knowledge. Think about within that factory, let's say, where the problem exists that no one has seen and your eyes can see, and then apply your knowledge how you can solve it. And also figure out in parallel, don't solve something that people will not be able to pay for. Look for a problem that someone will be willing to pay for, and just go after that. That's where the journey starts. Very simple. Finding a problem that is smallest possible, and someone is willing to pay for it. Doesn't matter the size of the payment. So go for it.
Mm,
Yeah, I can share.
Somebody is asking for.
Yeah, I'll send the PowerPoint and you can circulate with the students. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, even I guess recording will be uploaded on YouTube and will be available for everyone, as we are like limited to only SV90 and Bose.X audience, so we'll put it on YouTube. So no worry. And one thing, one question I have, like, do you think like there is some challenges in terms of Indian policy and all? Like starting company in US is quite easy than in India, or like there are always challenges like in each country. Do you, if
Yeah, I mean, see, when you want to do something, it becomes easy. When you want to find reasons that why you're not able to do, then we come up this concept of it's easy in US and difficult in India concept. And believe me, it's not, nothing is easy and or nothing is very difficult, doesn't matter. I think it's depending upon what you are solving, what you want to do, and depending on the size of the problem, it could be easy or difficult in general terms. But you would, if you are entrepreneur, you will be able to figure out how to do it. And money is the last thing you need to solve the problem. It is very important to grow the business. It's very key component in building a business, but that's the last thing you need. You need a lot more, many other things before the money comes into play. And that probably is one indication that there's a lot of capital available in the US. But if you need that at the end, doesn't matter, right? I mean, it is, if it is at the end, it will be available in India as well. There's a lot of investment available for good companies, good tech problems. If you're solving, India, billions of dollars have been invested every year. Entrepreneurs raise capital, and there's nothing I would say that is difficult or impossible in India. India being consumer market, almost billion plus people, huge opportunities, and that makes it even easier, much easier for you to find problem and solve it, because you'll also have team building, that you can find good people, and then eventually money, because even it's circling in the community. So hope that. And the policy thing question, yeah, there's always, in any new industry, there will always be challenges. Policies are always, premature and they are built. But once you start and you become a role model, people look at you and actually create policies around your concept eventually.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, we are done with all the questions. And once again, I would like to thank you for a very amazing and inspiring talk. I'm sure everybody must have gained something or the other from the talk. And yeah, we need more of such people who are engaged into research and commercialization. Only research and only commercialization would not lead India to become a sustainable superpower. But yeah, thank you very much, Dr.
Yeah.
Shailesh.
Thank you, Shreyas. Thanks, Uncle. And thanks everyone for having me. And I look forward to, having more interaction in future, and good luck to everyone. And I hope we'll meet again.
Yeah, thank you, Shailesh. We can have you as a advisors for our commercialization aspect and other innovation aspect. So if you don't mind to interact with us in future, that would be like more.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. My email address was there in my presentation as well. So any student want to reach out directly, or if you want to reach out to me in future, anything I could contribute, happy to do it. Absolutely.
yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
So yeah, thank you. We can conclude this.
wish you a good day, Dr. Shailesh.
Yeah, nice. Good night, everyone. Bye.
Yeah, bye. Thank you. Suez, you can stop recording and like कोई editor है
I
तो
guess that can be stopped just by Surendra.
okay, no problem. So yeah, you can take the recording from Surendra and edit it accordingly and then put it there on YouTube.
Yeah, sure.
Anything else?